All right, well, good morning, everyone. My name's Erin Craven, and I'm the General Manager for Graceway Pharmaceuticals in Canada. And I'm going to be speaking to you today about the delivery of primary care in Canada and the implications that we then need to consider as industry. I'll be the first to admit that this is a difficult topic to stay on top of, mainly because there's so much continuous change, and not to mention the fact that each and every province, basically no two provinces, are handling it the same way. So it's complex and it's continually changing, and as I was saying to Joe the other day, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of my presentation this is now outdated. So I'm going to begin with an overview of the provincial structures. Basically, until 2008, every province had regionalized their healthcare system, and Ontario, as we know, was the last to restructure with the introduction of the LHINs. And in most provinces, each regional unit, however they've structured that, has full decision-making authority. So basically the service providers are no longer functioning independently, and the regional unit is really calling the shots. And where this is different, however, is in Ontario, where the health service provider still continues to operate with their own boards and their own management. And this is interesting because basically the LHINs control 2/3 of healthcare expenditures in Ontario. However, some would argue that at this point all they're really doing is signing checks, because the hospital board primarily still has a lot of the control, and in terms of long-term planning, the ministry is still really directing where we're going. Now, the other thing that's interesting, if you're reading the news a lot lately with the LHINs, is that it tends to be heating up a little bit as a political issue. The Conservative Party seems to be making it a political issue, potentially setting the stage to either revamp the LHINs or even potentially do away with them, which is very similar to what happened in my next point in April 2008 in Alberta, where they announced that they were going to replace their 9 regional health authorities with one health services providing board. And a lot of people thought that was very puzzling, because they'd really operated for 15 years with these regional authorities, and they were really kind of the best in class, if you will, for how to do that. But if you take a step back and look at it, it appears to have been a political move. So at this point, all other provinces still remain regionalized. And this map basically shows how it is structured across the country, and like I said, each one of these is basically their own country onto themselves. And realizing that I only have 8 minutes, I'm just going to focus on how 3 of these provinces are structured, and that's Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta. So the ultimate goal in Canada is basically by 2011 have 50% of Canadians, they should have access to an interdisciplinary team when they go to their primary care clinic or place of care. And currently only 32% of Canadians have access to one or more primary care providers when they go to, again, their clinic or their place of care. And basically 50% of us, when we go see our primary care doctor, there isn't even a nurse or any other primary care specialist in place. It's just the doctor. So it's a lofty goal, and we definitely have a ways to go in a very short time, considering that it's already 2010. This is a chart that summarizes the top 4 provinces. And really there's very little research to date that shows us the impact of how these various teams, what impact they're having on primary care delivery in Canada. And the reason being is that, again, each one is so different, so it's hard to kind of measure that. And the following slide that I'm going to go through will go into Alberta, Quebec, and Ontario in a little more detail, but this chart is basically more for your reference. So let's start with Alberta. In 2003, they started with what they called the Primary Care Initiative, and they established this initiative with the purpose to develop primary care networks across the province and then support them in meeting their individual objectives. And currently, there are 31 of these primary care networks operating in Alberta, and another 9 are planned, so that will take it up to 40. Right now, we've got basically 60% of Alberta family physicians working within a primary care network, and the goal, again, is to get that higher, up to 80% by 2011. The unique factor with Alberta is their structure. It's very flexible, so you could have one very large clinic with many physicians, many support staff, or you could have several physicians and several support staff rotating through various clinics in the region. And each of these networks develops their own programs to provide the specific services. So it may be a little bit different in each region based on what's needed. If we go to Quebec, the Ministry of Health and Social Services implemented what they call family medicine groups. And they did this basically to increase access and quality of care, but access really seems to be the big thing because their focus is basically they've got groups of family physicians and nurse practitioners working together, and they provide care for up to 12 hours daily, and then that's during the week, and then 4 hours on the weekend. So again, access being their big focus. Right now,